Hopefully you all are enjoying this time of year. Hopefully you've got your gift buying done, you've got all that taken care of, and you're just going to be able to enjoy time with family this week. How many of you have already had a Christmas with some family in some way? Wow, so some of you already. So my first one's on Tuesday, so I thought that was early, but I feel a little better now knowing that you guys have already had some too. So that's good. It is Christmas week. Only a few short days left until Christmas break is upon us. I know you're counting the days eagerly. Those of you who are in school, those of you who are my homeschoolers, it's always Christmas break, right? But Christmas is upon us. Only a few more days, in fact, less than a week until Christmas itself. There it is. We might want to drop that screen down. There's the phone number too. 412-347-1639. Text in your questions. I will answer them live at the end of the sermon, as many as I possibly can. I'll squeeze them in. But I'm looking to hear from you because I know we haven't covered everything. Proverbs is such a large book. But anyway, it's only a few short days until Christmas. With Christmas comes holidays and traditions. And one of the traditions we have around here is our CRAVE New Year's Eve party. How many of you have been to that before? Good. Make sure you come out to it again. Invite your friends. I'm really looking forward to it. I love getting to ring in the new year with you all. I love getting to pack this place out and having all kinds of fun and craziness, right? It's such an awesome holiday. The time when we close out one year and look towards and begin a new year together. A time for resolutions to be made, right? How many of you already are thinking about your New Year's resolutions? Anybody? A couple of you? One of you? Two of you? 3? 5? All right. So some of you are thinking about your New Year's resolutions because that's what happens. You make your New Year's resolution on New Year's, and then, just as traditional as making a New Year's resolution is breaking it in February. Don't get me wrong, though. I don't think New Year's resolutions are bad. I'm actually in favor of them. I think it's actually really good. But it is just so funny to think about that we get all excited and we make these resolutions and we're like, 2017 is going to be so much better. I'm going to do so much more. And there's this phenomenon in gyms. If anybody ever go to the gym, if you go in January, it's like packed. And then if you go back in February, it's like you. It's amazing to see how quickly our resolve dies out, And I love the idea of it. I love evaluating your life, looking to where you can do better, looking to where you can grow, looking to where you can improve. Right? I don't think resolutions are bad. I've made and broken my fair share of resolutions throughout my life. And I think the thing, when I look back on the resolutions that I've been able to keep and I look back on the resolutions that have failed, I think the biggest thing that have impacted those is planning. I remember in 2013, I was working down in Pittsburgh, and I think I was dating my wife at that point, but we weren't married or engaged or anything, and I was just running around all the time, like crazy in 2012. It was just a busy year. I was always somewhere. I always had meetings. I always had places to be. I always crammed my schedule really full, and I found myself always eating really poorly. I'd always eat fast food, not because I like fast food, but because it was just there. It was the option that I had, and I was single, so I was barely ever home, so it didn't make sense to have these elaborate meals waiting in my refrigerator if I wasn't actually going to get home to eat them. And so coming into 2013, I was man, I really need to make a change. I really need to just cut that out of my life because I need to do better. And so the entire year, went the whole year, no fast food whatsoever. If I could order it through a drive-thru, if I could eat it in my car, I didn't do it. It wasn't good. I cut it out. But that meant, in order for that to be successful, I had to actually plan. I had to actually think ahead and make important decisions about what I would do with my schedule. I had to plan the times I would actually eat a meal. Right? So I understand resolutions aren't a bad thing, and I understand what it takes to make them successful, and I understand why they fail. I think when we make them, we truly desire the things we're seeking after. I think that when you make a resolution, you really do think that will be a good thing for your life. Even when it's not New Year's, whenever you're looking at your life and thinking about the things you need to change, right? Deciding to grow in your faith, to learn a new language, to do better in school, to get healthier, all these different decisions we make throughout our lives saying, I'm going to do that. And then it never quite materializes, it never quite happens, right? Any and all of those are good things to do, and I don't doubt your intention. I don't doubt when you're saying those things to yourself that you really do want to do those things. I don't doubt that when you say, oh, I want to learn a new language, that you really want to learn a new language. I don't doubt that when you say, oh, I want to get healthier, that you really do want to get healthier, that you want to do better in school. I don't doubt those things. I think, though, that most of the time our efforts fail because of a lack of planning. The excitement is there, the desire is there, the yeah, I'm going to do this is there, but then that quickly fizzles out for lack of planning. Right? The passion is there, and we say things like, tomorrow I'm going to get up early, I'm going to read my Bible, I'm going to eat breakfast, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do this, I'm going to stay after school, I'm going to get my homework done, I'm going to bring home all my homework, and I'm not going to watch TV when I get home, I'm just going to go ahead and do my homework. Yeah, some of you are already laughing because you're like, I've said those things and then they never happen because I get home and I'm just too tired, right? I just need to sit down for a minute and then I'll do it. Or the alarm goes off, right? 5 o'clock, and you're like, oh, I stayed up so late last night, or I was so busy, or I was doing all that, I got to go back to sleep, right? So you hit the snooze, and then you hit the snooze, then you hit the snooze, then you hit the snooze, and then you're late. Because that's what happens, is our passion fizzles out, and our lack of planning takes over. Hi, how's it going over there? You guys good? Okay. Cool. I don't even see it in just short-term decisions either. I see it in long-term decisions as well. I see it when people are thinking about their lives, right? They get this really exciting idea, oh, I'm going to go be a missionary in a foreign country someday, right? Or, oh, I'm going to go be a youth pastor someday. Don't. Or I'm going to be a teacher, or I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a garbage man. Whatever it is that you desire to be in your life. I don't know how many times people have gotten really excited about something. I don't know how many youth conferences I've been on where people are walking forward yeah, I'll go to Indonesia. I can't spell it. I couldn't find it on a map, but I'll go, right? And then what happens? You go home, you're like, well, that was fun. You should do that again. Right? I'm not going to call any conferences or anything out by name, but there are these ones that happen in Pittsburgh all the time, and they get you all excited, and they're like, you should come and support this kid for $30 a month, right? And they make you feel really bad about all the conditions they're living in, and all those things are true, and you get really excited, and you're like, yeah, I really want to support that kid, and you go and get the card, and you register for it at home, and then you realize that, oh wait, I got to pay $30 next month, too. And then I got to pay $30 after that, and after that, and after that, right? Suddenly that excitement wanes very quickly, and you find yourself in a bad situation, right? And who ends up picking up the bill? Mom and dad, right? You take it to mom and dad. Or, this happens to me a lot. We go to those kind of conferences, and I hear, Dave, we should support a kid as CRAVE. We should do it as a youth group. So what you're saying is you want me to support a kid for you. Got it. Check. Right? I'm not discounting your excitement. I think those are great things. But excitement fails for lack of planning and lack of thought, for thinking ahead. Turn with me to Proverbs 14:15. Proverbs 14:15. If you have your Bibles with you, go ahead and open them. If you don't, it'll be on the screen behind me. Proverbs 14:15. If you don't know where Proverbs is yet, you're either new, which is great, and we'll talk to your neighbor, we'll happily show you, or you just haven't been paying attention at all the entire time we've been doing this. Proverbs 14:15. The simple believes everything, but the prudent gives thought to his steps. You see, what's true about a wise person is this: the wise plan. The wise plan. They think ahead. They go into life, they go into their day, they go into their week with a plan, with a thought as to how it's going to go. The wise give thought to their steps, to what they're going to do, to how they're going to approach their day, their life. The foolish simply allow life to happen to them. right? The foolish believe anything. They get suckered in by everything. That's why infomercials were created. Right? Oh gosh, I need 4 of those. How did I ever live my life without that? The foolish allow life to happen to them. The wise set aside time to accomplish the things they need to do. They plan what it is they're going to do. They think ahead through what's going to happen if they make these decisions. The foolish simply hope and dream that time will be there to accomplish the things they want to do. The foolish simply arrive at wherever they are with no thought as to how they got there or where they're going from there. See, wisdom and planning, though, isn't knowing everything that you're going to do. It isn't jotting down your schedule until every 5 minutes of your day is scheduled out and you know exactly what you're doing. That's called control issues. That's a whole different topic, right? But planning is giving thought to the direction that you're going. Right? Planning isn't even necessarily knowing everything that you're going to do with your life. It isn't even necessarily knowing everywhere you're going to end up. It's not about controlling all those details. Wisdom and planning, though, is knowing that you're going in a direction and understanding where that direction is moving you towards, right? When we first talked about this, way back when, in September, we talked about the destination of wisdom, that wisdom leads us towards God. See, the wise in their planning are always moving towards God. The foolish, they don't know where they're going to end up. They don't understand that they're even walking a path. They simply arrive somewhere. All right, so wisdom is knowing where you're going. It's knowing where you want to be. It's knowing where you want to end up and looking and figuring out what you need to do in order to get there. Right? It's about knowing the course of your life, the direction, not necessarily every detail of every step. It's about your trajectory, what it is you're moving towards. See, the difference between the wise and the foolish is the foolish only see what's directly in front of them. The foolish are reactors. They respond to the moment itself. They only deal with what is 3 feet in front of their face. They live only for the moment that they find themselves in. Does it sound at all like our society might be considered foolish? Because what is the apparent wisdom of the day? Live only for what? This moment, right? Make decisions for what? Only this moment. But that's foolish. It's foolish not to think about how our decisions will impact our lives, impact the lives of others around us. It's foolish not to have a direction. The wise also seek wise counsel. The wise also seek wise counsel. Proverbs 15:22. Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. See, when we make our plans, we need to seek the advice and the counsel of those who have gone before us, of those who are also wise. Our walk, our life is not meant to be this isolated thing. You're meant to live it within the context of community. You are supposed to have people in your life who understand who you are and who have the permission to speak into your life, either to encourage or discourage. You need people in your life who say, no, that's stupid. It's usually my wife. We're meant to trust and rely on those around us. We're meant to trust and rely on God who placed us where we are. We're meant to trust and to seek the counsel, especially of those in authority over us. For you all, that would be parents, that would be teachers, that would be pastors, that would be CRAVE leaders, because they may see what you don't. They may understand what it is you're missing. They may see pieces to the puzzle that you lack. They may see areas where you still need experience, where you still need to grow. Many times our passion can seek to push us ahead, whereas wise counsel would temper that and say, no, you need to wait until you're ready. One of our leaders is going to go off to be a missionary, and I have no doubt that passion would have put him there already. However, wisdom waits. Wisdom waits and seeks guidance. Many times when we make a plan and we start to pursue something, it's passion that moves us well beyond thought and rationale. I'm not saying that what you're passionate about you shouldn't do, but you should give thought to how you're going to do it, because you're no good to anyone if you just burn out halfway through actually getting it done. You're no good to anyone, right? You're going to go be a missionary. You're going to get really excited and support a kid through Compassion International. You're no good to that kid if 3 months into supporting them, the checks stop coming. You're no good to those people if your support dries up as a missionary 3 months into the field. When I was going to be a pastor, I was a junior in high school, end of my junior year. I decided I wanted to be a youth pastor. Very strange thing to be. That led to some interesting conversations with my high school guidance counselor. Do you all ever have those meetings still where, like, at the beginning of the year or the end of the year, you got to sit down with your guidance counselor and talk about what it is you want to be when you grow up? Yeah? You still do that? That's still a thing? Yeah. So I did that, and, like, sitting in my guidance counselor's office, was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a youth pastor. We don't have classes for that. I didn't think so. I'm going to go over here and take shop and CAD. But I remember I went and talked to my senior pastor. His name's Steve. I still talk to Pastor Steve on occasion. And when I told him I wanted to be a pastor, he said, that's awesome. And he gave me a piece of advice I'll never forget. He said, if you could see yourself doing anything other than being a pastor, you should go do that. Right? Which, as a 17-year-old young man, that advice was really strange to me, because I'm like really excited and I'm expecting him to be really excited and be like, yeah, man, you should definitely go to be a pastor. Like, here's the schools you should go to and we'll hire you whenever you get out of school, and like all excited. And he's like, that's great, but if you really want to go be a pastor, it better be the only thing you want to do, because if there's anything else, you should go do that. It made me stop and really question, is there anything else I could see myself doing? Obviously, the answer I arrived at is no, for those of you who are having trouble seeing how the story connects to right now, right? But how many people go into ministry that shouldn't for lack of advice? How many people go into teaching that shouldn't for lack of advice? How many people go through their life making the wrong decisions for lack of advice? Don't be those people. See, the wise don't let their circumstances cloud the truth, and the truth is this: the wise ultimately trust their plans to God. The wise ultimately trust their plans to God. Proverbs 16, verses 3 and 9 say this: commit your work to the Lord, and your plans will be established. In verse 9, the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Planning isn't a bad thing. Having a plan, having a desire, having a direction that you're going isn't a bad thing, unless you're unwilling to trust those things to God and ultimately trust the direction he's going to move you. And as long as you're willing to trust God with the plans that you have, as long as you're willing to hold them with an open hand saying, Father, direct me where you would have me go. Many times when we begin to make plans, though, we selfishly hold on to them. We seek to try to work them out ourselves. We're unwilling to trust God with those plans. We're unwilling to trust and understand his goodness, and so it puts us in conflict with God. Because here's the thing, if you aren't trusting your plans to God, then they're doomed to fail. That's the simple truth of it. It is God who makes our plans succeed. If you aren't seeking wisdom from God, then your plans are doomed to fail. They'll fall apart before they ever get going. It is God who is ultimately in control. It is God who makes things happen. And so we need to trust God with our plans, even if it means we end up somewhere where we weren't originally planning. Right? Our plans may not mirror exactly what God is going to do, but God will still use that. Romans 15, 18 through 28, I'm going to read this very quickly. Right, but follow along behind me. This is Paul talking to the church in Rome. For I will not venture to speak of anything except what Christ has accomplished through me to bring the Gentiles to obedience by word and deed, by the power of signs and wonders, by the power of the Holy Spirit of God, so that from Jerusalem And all the way around Illyricum, I have fulfilled the ministry of the gospel of Christ. And thus I make it my ambition to preach the gospel, not where Christ has already been named, lest I build on someone else's foundation, but as it is written, those who have never been told of him, who see, and those who have never heard will understand. This is the reason why I've so often been hindered from coming to you, but now, since I no longer have any room for work in these regions, and since I have longed for many years to come to you, I hope to see you in passing as I go to Spain, and to be helped on my journey there by you once I have enjoyed your company for a while. At present, however, I'm going to Jerusalem, bringing aid to the saints from Macedonia and Achaia. It have been pleasure to make some contribution for the poor among the saints of Jerusalem, for they were pleased to do it, and indeed they owe it to them. For if the Gentiles have come to share in their spiritual blessings, they ought also to be of service to them in material blessings. When therefore I have completed this and have delivered to them what has been collected, I will leave for Spain by way of you. I know that when I come to you, I will come in the fullness of blessing of Christ. This is Paul talking about his future plan. This is Paul talking about what he's going to do. He's going to go back to Jerusalem and deliver to them this gift, this support for the saints there. And then he's going to leave for Rome and eventually for Spain to preach the gospel where nobody has preached it before. This is a wonderful plan. I have no doubt that Paul went in full faith, knowing that it is God who goes before them. But if you know anything about the history of the church, you know Paul did make it to Jerusalem and he did make it to Rome, but not the way he was planning. Paul was arrested in Jerusalem and carried to Rome as a prisoner, and he did preach the gospel where no one had preached it before. In the very heart of Rome, to the very court of Caesar, to the people who were literally chained to him. Talk about a captive audience. There it is. That one's always good. Paul would never make it to Spain. He would be executed. But he trusted his plans to God, and God used what Paul was doing to accomplish his greater purpose. So while Paul's plans didn't mirror exactly what God was doing, God still used Paul to accomplish his own plans. And that can be a difficult place to find yourself when your own plans, when your own thoughts, when your own ideas are not getting any traction. When the direction you thought you were supposed to be going, you aren't going. When you find yourself stalled out, when you find yourself with nowhere to turn, when you find yourself in this very difficult place of having your plans come crashing down, even after you trusted them to God, even after you sought wise counsel, even after you did all the things you were supposed to do, and still you can find yourself in this frustrating and difficult place. And here's the thing we need to have in this moment, is this: the wise are patient. The wise are patient. See, when you find yourself in that frustrating and difficult place, it can be easy to become impatient and try to wrestle control back into your life and try to take control of the details and things and say, well, if God's not going to do it, I'm going to figure it out. If God's not going to take care of this, then I'm going to take care of it. But patience teaches us to trust God and his timing. Patience teaches us to rely on him and his plans above our own. Impatience causes us to doubt and mistrust the goodness of God. Causes us to doubt and mistrust the plan that he has for our lives. Causes us to live in the flesh, to live in that old nature of who we were before we knew Christ. And patience isn't something that just happens either. It's a decision. It is a choice. You can choose to be patient. You can choose to trust God through these things. Being patient will always move you closer to him. Living an impatient will move you in one of two directions. Either you'll give up completely, you'll say it's not worth it, you'll walk away, you'll find a reason to quit, or you'll make rash decisions. Well, if this isn't going to work, then I'm going to do this. If this isn't going to work, then I'm going to go this way. If God's saying no here, then I'm going to say yes to this. Impatience causes you to move further from God. Patience keeps you grounded in him. And here's the thing: the best place to look when you're trying to work out the goodness of God, when your plans have fallen apart, is to look back through your life and see God's faithfulness to you in similar times. You know, it's so funny. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be married to my wife. I wouldn't be standing here where it is my joy to be the youth pastor of CRAVE at Harvest Community Church. I would not be in this room with you tonight if I didn't get a cold in the summer of I think it was my 8th grade year of school. And you're like, a cold in the summer of your 8th grade year of school affected that much of your life? Yes, it did. Because in the summer of my 8th grade year of school, I was signed up to go to canoe climb and cave camp at Jumonville in southwestern Pennsylvania, just north of Uniontown, up on the mountain in Hopwood, premier Christian camp conference and retreat center. That'll be funny in a second when I get further on in my story. Anyway, I was scheduled to go there. I had everything bought. I had the gear, I had the clothes, I had all the fun-looking stuff. I had a compass, because, adventure camp, compass, it makes sense, right? I had all the things I needed to go, except I got sick, really sick. High fever, like 104, so I wasn't allowed to go. We had literally already paid out all the money, and it was so close to camp that we couldn't get it back. Yeah, it sucked. No one was happy about it. I was super frustrated. I never actually ended up going to Jumonville for camp, strangely enough. Never went there as a camper, not once. But I worked there. Summer after my freshman year of high school, I worked there, or freshman year of college. I was on staff. And when you're on staff, you get to do all the things and learn how to do all the things that the campers would get to do anyway. And here's what Dave learned about himself. I hate caving with a passion. I'm not claustrophobic. I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm not afraid of any of those things. But if you're thinking that caves were built for big men, it's a lie. Caves were not built for tall people. So like where everyone else is like standing up in a room going, oh wow, it's so majestic. I'm like, all I can see is the floor. And they give you this helmet that has a lip on it. So I'm like, literally all I can see is the floor, guys. What's going on? And like, you're squeezing into places. They're like, this is so cool. I'm like, I still can only see the floor. And so it sucked. I hated caving. I never led a group. No, that's not true. I led a couple groups caving because I love Jesus. And hate caving, right? But if I had gone as a kid, if I had gone to canoe, climb, and cave, yeah, in the title, I never would have wanted to work there because I would have had to go caving. If I had never worked there, I never would have met my wife. I never would have moved the direction I did after college. I never would have ended up here where I am today. When I look back to where I barely knew God and see his hand of faithfulness in even the smallest details of my life, when it is easy for me to sit and say, why is this all going so wrong? God is saying, no, it is going just right. Be patient. Trust me. Know that I love you.